Hi, and welcome to PDX, Progressive Talk. Tonight to thank our producer, Marv. I always forget to thank him for supporting us and being here. He is the consummate producer. He's fabulous. Always makes sure our background and our setting is fabulous, and his wonderful wife, Donna, is amazing. So when you call, because I know you're going to call. So when you call in, the person that you're going to talk to is Donna, and you need to be nice, okay? Just be nice, be cool. The person you want to talk to, and she does screen them, so be nice and tell her what you want to talk to me about, but I can take it, right? So call, say, hello, this is what I want to talk about, and if she passes you through, then you can talk to me. And access the Twitter account, but you go ahead and leave messages. The Twitter is at PDX_TalkTV. Again, that's at PDX_TalkTV, and that's our Twitter channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're more than welcome to call. I have access to YouTube, and I will be putting that information on Facebook. So yay, we're going to be set up there. So let's see. We did have guests scheduled for tonight, but as you can see, it's me, so call. I wanted to discuss some things that happened during April, because April was actually a really significant month for our country and the people who manage everything at the federal level and even at the state level. I pay more attention, a significant date in our history and something that will be looked at, reviewed, and analyzed for years and decades to come. So Attorney General Merrick Garland's answer to this was the only pressure that if he felt any pressure, so his answer was that the only pressure that he felt was to make sure that they did the right thing. And as far as the prosecutors and the lawyers and everybody, the legislature, everybody who's involved in this, everyone needs just to do the right thing and follow the facts and where they lead. So that's Merrick Garland's stand on January 6th. CNN, that was in a CNN article from April 1st. In the same article, CNN goes on to say that Monday, a federal judge said that it was more than, quote unquote, more than likely, or more likely than not, that President Trump corruptly attempted to obstruct Congress's electoral certification vote. The assertion by the U.S. District Court Judge David Carter came in a documents disclosure case related to the House Select Committee's investigation of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. So what this judge is essentially saying is that in his mind, and a legal body from the 2024 presidential race. However, that's just me, Oregon City, right? I'm just a citizen here in the Oregon City area, which I have some other things to talk about on that. So later in this article, CNN states that it was revealed later that week in reports by the Washington Post, New York Times, and CNN that the Justice Department's criminal January 6th investigation had expanded. The federal investigators now gathering information about fundraising and organizing for the political rally immediately before Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol, as well as any efforts to subvert the Electoral College vote. A list of individuals contacted for voluntary interviews in early April consisted of the following. So we have Kevin McCarthy, we have Jim Jordan, Scott Perry, Sean Hannity of Fox News, Ivanka Trump, and let me see, it goes on, Daniel Scavino. Enough information, I mean, they have information. They have enough to prosecute these people. They can't do the prosecuting, but they have enough to submit a criminal a request to move forward from federal prosecutors. And a lot of people are wondering why they haven't. So as I'm looking into these things, I'm also finding out that in Marjorie Taylor Greene's issues, a judge in early April ruled, and she has appeared in court as a result of this ruling. A judge ruled that a challenge to ban far-right MAGA Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene from re-election can move forward. Greene will first be sitting in front of lawmakers to be questioned under oath, which she failed miserably, in case you did not see it. They were asking her if she said that the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, was crazy and if she was treasonous and stuff. And she tried to deny that she said that, but they have evidence. I mean, the woman is on tape, on video, harassing Michael Hogg, harassing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, harassing all of these people throughout the Senate and the House, and she is playing a victim right now because she thinks she's being attacked for the things that she said. Hey, Marv?
Hey, what?
Want to look at the monitor? So what's on next? In other news, Joe Manchin is still trying to hold up the... That's better. Joe Manchin is still trying to hold up the Build Back Better, which is kind of dead, but there's pieces of it that the Democrats are trying to pull into a bill to kind of like move toward, I don't want to say the Green New Deal, but plans to eradicate the use of fossil fuels and build up more natural energy. So what was written is, as usual, Joe Manchin package and recently met with the U.S. envoy John Kerry at a dinner over in Paris. But some progressives already seem resigned to the fact that they'll eventually have to cut a deal with Manchin, and that trading fossil fuel funding for clean energy investment is a price they may have to pay. And I don't think that's really appropriate, because if you drive out 213 on almost any given day of the week, you have these people, not only the semis, which the cap and trade deal is something that we'll need to discuss at another time, but not only the semis spewing up black smoke out of their stacks, but you have there needs to be a solution. We have, like, coal mining is dirty, and it's impacting the environment to such a level that in the next 20 years, many of our coastal areas are going to be flooded. Our country can end up losing like 20 miles around the coasts. This is not only for the fish and the wildlife and everything, it's humans. Not to mention the loss of food and agriculture. I mean, Oregon, last July, I believe it was, the heat gets up to 130 degrees generally. I mean, that's like every year it will peak out around 130 degrees. That's why it's called Death Valley. I mean, come on. So for Oregon, and you got these people with their jacked up trucks, we don't want the government to radioactive half-life biochemicals off of it. let me see. I can complain all day about Republicans, but I don't necessarily believe that that's something we want to do moving forward. I think moving forward, we want to find a place, not the far right and not the far left, somewhere the people who are the most populous, the most of our population are in the middle. And that is by and large true. We need to make that work. And I joke because I hold the same views now as I did 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, I was very center-right-ish, right? And so I hold the same views as I did 20 years ago, being center-ish right, and now I'm far left. Same views, okay? So that is how far the pendulum has gone. What we need to do, and I've been hearing people all over the different pundits and reading different articles about, strategists saying that we need to find something closer to the middle for us to be able to save the democracy that people have worked for 248 years to keep intact. They could overturn same-sex marriage. They could make life really hard for transgender kids and the LGBTQ plus community. They can make life really, really difficult for these people, and it's frightening and it's scary, and we can pretty much say goodbye to our democracy because the Republicans don't want democracy. They want control. They want money. They want kickbacks. They want corporate control, and they want to control us. They want us to be back in the 1850s when you couldn't walk down the street. A woman could not own a house by herself. She could not, up until I think it was like World War II when they had to go to work, women were highly encouraged to stay at home. They couldn't have their own money. They couldn't have their own credit. Dude, that's where we're going. That is where we're going. If we don't get up and mobilize to keep Democrats in office, and believe me, not all Democrats are great. I am actually a fan of Katie Porter. I'm a huge fan of her and of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because of their values, because of what they bring to the conversation. They aren't stuck on the stupid cultural issues like trying to take out Disney or trying to ban books or trying to keep women from being able to keep jurisdiction over their own bodies. These women, and Elizabeth Warren, these women are working. The act was signed. We ceased to have many of our civil rights. We now need an extended license to travel anywhere in the United States, over the Mississippi, I believe. I'm going to Washington, D.C. in May. And I'm going to Washington, D.C. in May, and I thought I was going to need a passport because of the laws that have been in place for a while. I got a phone call, yay! Hello, this is Sherry. What's on your mind?
Hi, Sherry. How you doing? I saw your show coming on. I love it. It's great. Really appreciate what you're doing out there.
Thank you. Who is this?
My name is Mike from Oregon City.
Oh, hi, Mike. You're fabulous. I was saying that you were going to call. You went to a rally earlier, did you not?
Yeah, it was a virtual rally for Lieber Ford for the position of Clackamas County Commissioner.
And so I imagine you support Libra.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. She's a wonderful person, not just.
Understand what?
Well, the main thing is to for Clackamas County, the issues of Clackamas County even from development, from the traffic situations to the school systems, to the homelessness. I mean, she takes it from the position from the people as opposed to land developers and speculators and the people who really are just...
Did vote for her, but I don't know a lot about her. What is her plan for dealing with books being banned in schools?
That's a great question, and really, I don't know what the answer to that is. I did put the link to her Facebook site on the Independence for Progressive Action Facebook page. So, hopefully anybody who's interested can go ahead and check that out and find out the information on that. Because
over to deal with, or are we going to have to come back with our own, or how is that going to pan out?
I really don't know, and I don't know about the governor of Maryland. There's going to be a lot of people running as Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
We'll have to see how that goes. Right now, I'm more focused on the May primary here in Oregon because we do actually have a lot of really good candidates running in several of the different districts. I mean, in Oregon City, you've got Charles Gallia running. Up in Portland, you've got Travis Nelson. We've got Mark Gamba running.
Yep.
There's just in 51, a guy named Walt Trandom who hasn't run for office before, who is running as a Democrat in District 51 here in Clackamas County.
Wow.
This guy, I think, is really going to be good. And he has to beat a guy who was kind of a really right-wing, crazy nut job, gun nut. And I mean, not that.
Why is it popular? Because that's what we're fighting. We're fighting the fact that these ideologies are popular with a portion of the population.
Yeah, and the thing is, popularity is a huge issue. I mean, just because something isn't is good doesn't mean it's going to be popular, and just because something is bad doesn't mean it's going to be unpopular. It's all about money, marketing, and manipulation, and really this kind of ties in with the theme of your show is about theocracy in America. And I was trying to find out where that quote came. That some people say it was Sinclair Lewis who said that when fascism comes to America, it'll be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross. And
Yep.
They'll attack anything they label as socialism, like the post office, or...
Yes, and there has been some discussion of that as well. Dismantling the post office.
There's a great post here that, John Kevin Hunt, right?
I'm not sure, maybe.
He used to be live in Oregon. He was a member of the Independence for Progressive Action. And let me just read this real quick, what he wrote today. It's he wrote this, it's, quote, "Evisceration of the right to privacy propels America farther down the road leading to civil war. Overturning Roe is the beginning. Recriminalization of same-sex marriage, contraception, possession of obscene material and privacy of home, interracial marriage will follow." Here he says, "My inner pacifist idealism weeps as my inner pragmatic materialism counsels preparation and vigilance. Cognitive dissonance evokes paralysis." And then he says here, "I read that the Socialist Rifle Association is hiring staff." And then he quotes Karl Marx. Karl Marx says, "We must never permit the disarmament of the working class." And then he goes on to say that U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced last week establishment of a new unit to control misinformation. Official truth coming soon. Socialists will be at the top of the official shit list. And then he says, he goes on a little bit. Like at the end, he says, "Trust in God, but chain your Harley."
Oh, my goodness. But he's so right. He's so right. And that's where I was going.
He was a lawyer here in Oregon City for many years.
He's so right. That's where I was.
as well as the PCP.
That's where I was going here in a few minutes. Was talking about the issue with that the Supreme Court potentially reversing Roe v. Wade.
Right, and they are the group that we have on the Supreme Court is the most viciously politically active. I mean, they're political activists. They really don't care about constitutional merit when they make their decisions. No. All they're trying to do is push the right-wing agenda and push America towards fascism. They're tools that were put in place by the, corporatists, by our oligarchs and billionaires, and the plan is to push.
They believe they are. So they're banning books. They're taking away a woman's jurisdiction over her body. They are wanting to, what else was it? They are wanting to cut taxes, but to do the things that they want to do, it takes more departments in the U.S. government to manage. Right. So that's an increase in taxes. So it sounds like they're confused.
Well, it's not yeah, they're confused, but also the small government tag is just a talking point. Like you said, all the things that they want to do requires more government, especially if you look at the Republicans that are running for governor right now. Every one of them is pushing fear. Christine Drazen was saying how we should be afraid to send our kids to school, walking to school now. We need more police. And the two men who are just really, the stuff that they're saying, the fear-mongering is ridiculous about how they need to lock more people up and have more cops. And so all this is more big government, but, they don't look at it that way. And one other thing on the small government thing, which is completely crazy on their part, I hate to use that word, but people, what they fail to recognize is that a small government that's owned and operated for the benefit of oligarchs and billionaires is
Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. The only thing I don't use right now is Oculus. And I have for 17 years, being an avid user of that conglomerate, I stand against the fact that they are buying up the competition. The SEC was created to ensure competition was available in a capitalist society. Allowing people to buy out their competition creates monopolies. How do they justify this? Elon Musk just spent $44 billion to buy Twitter. What else is he going to buy? So we are talking that, okay, so in the 2024 election, the right-wing apparatus of this nation are going to be discussing culture wars, okay? No talk of sexuality for, and this is absurd, no talk of sexuality for kindergartners through 5th grade. So what a group in Florida did was send out a memo to all of the parents saying, we will take away all books saying mother and father. We will not allow any interpretation of mother and father, or any instance of sexuality translated white or European because of what their ancestors did. So they're trying to strip us of an education, of employment, basically, because without education you can't get employment. In Florida, they're even banning some math books. So these kids are not going to be able to learn math at a given level, even up to high school, because of references to slavery or to inequality.
The less educated people are,
Exactly.
less they question authority. So
Exactly.
any way that they can attack education, is good in the minds of oligarchs and billionaires and the Republican Party. So really, yeah, they definitely don't want to see people get educated, and they don't want people asking questions.
So how can we, not even as Democrats, but Democrats, progressives, and independents, how can we get these people on board to stand up against the Republicans who are trying to make everybody dumb and ready to follow along? We need to get these people to vote. How do we do that? Especially the younger people.
Yeah, I think you can work with the younger people. I mean, but pain and the minds of citizens are so easily manipulated that it's really hard to unmanipulate those brains. And it really is important to try to get people as young as possible to think openly and ask questions and not just believe. Because instead of having believers, we need questioners.
That is good. That's very good. And I actually got into a conversation with somebody who lives in another state about facts and what makes a fact, right? So he was trying to say that, and I'm asking him, and he's trying to say that there are contrary facts. And I'm like, no. What is a contrary fact? And he's confusing facts with opinions. And he's trying to justify that by saying that opinions are emotional, which is true, but facts have evidence. Facts are a common knowledge entity that has already been analyzed. And you don't have contrary facts. You have a story of facts that give you the complete picture.
Right. When Carol Ann Conway was a
alternative facts,
Donald
right,
Trump,
yeah.
when he was first president, she used the phrase alternative facts.
Yeah.
Is acceptable or not acceptable. It has to be based on all the equipment being calibrated, the light meters have to be calibrated, the densitometers have to be calibrated, the survey meters to the x-ray machines have to be calibrated. The standards, the thicknesses of the shims that we compare the parts to metal have to be calibrated, and they all have to be based on standards. We go back to the National Institute of Bureau of Standards and Testing that has all these different blocks that say how much things weigh, and
right.
So everything is scientifically tested and measured so that we can say that yes, this is a good part. This is something that can go into somebody's body, or it can go into an engine of a jet plane. So it's not like an opinion. This is an actual.
This is a fact. This is proven.
And believe it. And
yeah.
and you really can't, like I say, if I was an auditor doing in testing and I was trying to say, well, why is this good or why is this bad, and I explain all the things about the calibrations and the equipment and all the measurements and things like this, and I can actually say that, yeah, that's why this is good or bad. Well, they can't do that. And, if they try, they get frustrated and their eyes glaze over and they say, well, this is just the way it is. If you don't believe it, you're a socialist.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, he tried to tell me how capitalism has elevated millions of people out of poverty, and on that it has in developing nations. However, in doing that, you're justifying child slavery, you're justifying people being exploited, sweatshops and everything like this. And in this nation, we have 586,000 people living on the streets. That's what capitalism has done. And in Oregon alone, we have 21,000 students that were designated as homeless.
Some people call that collateral damage. Some people call that acceptable casualties because look at all the good things we get.
He didn't have an answer for me. Because there is no answer.
Yeah.
The answer actually is a mixed system, as they have in Norway and Switzerland and the Netherlands, where it's partially capitalist and partially socialist. The socialist is the education, the healthcare, and the government mandated requirements, but they still have, you can own a business, you still can own your
citizen.
Exactly. Exactly. And there is a larger gap between the ultra rich and the very poor now than there has been since before World War II. Actually, World War I, if I'm correct.
Right. Right. Well, there was a 40-year period in history between, about 1890 or 1880 to about 1930. Yeah, it was 1890 to 1930, where corporate control just really ruled. The trusts were mighty. The big business guys made the
Industrial
Revolution wealth like crazy, and pretty soon by 1929 they had concentrated so much about New Deal all through the 70s, and by the 1980s it was like the class war was over, working folks lost, and and now we're back like we were in 1890. Concentrating wealth, over consolidating power. And it looks like it's going to get to that same point where, like a poker game, pretty soon it's going to be game over because nobody else can play. Nobody else will have anything. And this is the way empires fall. And, it would be nice if people could recognize this and use our system to go ahead and put some checks and balances in, some speed bumps to avoid.
Most closely aligns with our personal values.
Yeah, we did too.
You did, yay! Yes. So I'm advocating for everybody to vote for Patrick Starnes for our governor, and know that Betsy Johnson has been receiving some really negative press lately on especially from what I've seen on YouTube, negative ads for her, and they're deserved. They're deserved. She took money. She took $750,000 from Phil Knight, and she's been taking money from corporations. So I'm going to add to that.
Yeah, can I just say one thing about Patrick Stearns real quick?
Yeah.
He spoke and answered questions at our last Clackamas Democratic Party Central Committee meeting Thursday.
Nice.
And he rocked it. He knocked it out of the park. He answered the question. He was so knowledgeable. Especially, I was really surprised to hear how well he handled the homelessness issue. I mean, here's a guy who actually worked in that. He not just as environmental stuff with working against the pipelines, the LNG and Coos Bay and other things, but this guy, he is just fantastic.
He is. He's wonderful. Thank you. He is. He's wonderful. He really deserves this, talking to people and trying, he's got a whole state. What I asked him, and he didn't give me an answer, is why, I don't know that he knows the answer, is why is it, as I'm driving down 213 or even 211 in rural Clackamas County, why do I not have a choice of who I vote for? All of the signs, any of the communications along 213 from seriously, I want to say the Clackamas County line through, because I live in rural Clackamas County, are for Republican. Right. Why do I not have a choice? Why is there no diversity in rural counties in Clackamas or rural neighborhoods in Clackamas County? That's what I want to know.
So what happened?
Nothing. He doesn't have an answer. I don't know. I want to find out, and I have a suspicion is because Democrats are like throughout the nation. There are states and counties throughout the nation where Democrats just won't run because it's totally Republican. For decades upon decades, it's been Republican. And Republicans won't run in certain areas because for decades upon decades, that's just a losing deal, right? I don't think that's fair. I think we should be able to have a diversity in decision-making in rural areas. We can't be discounted. We haven't seen any, well, Jeff, I don't think is up for re-election, but Ron Wyden is. I didn't see anything going into rural Clackamas County with any of those names on it. None.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I think the people who are putting up signs are the wealthy people who have been conditioned to vote Republican, and they don't even bother to question. They just think any Democrat is a socialist, and I'm going to vote Republican regardless.
And they don't even know what socialism is. That's what kills me. This guy I was telling you about, he said that his father was a socialist, and I laugh because he doesn't even, if what he's telling me is how he believes, he has no idea what socialism is.
Yeah.
He just wants to ride the Republican train. And he says he's not a Republican, but he sure talks like one. I think they get, if you ever listen to Randy Rhodes on, well, she's on YouTube now. She used to be on Air America. She used to say libertarians are just,
yeah.
I'm sorry?
I used to listen to her on Air America all the time.
I loved Air America. I was so sad when it went down. But she used to say all the time that libertarians are just Republicans who want to smoke pot. And, you know.
Right.
It's the truth.
I'm going to send you a link to a video that's got a bunch of fabulous clips from the 23 votes.
I didn't know that.
Indeed, a piece of it. Yes. Below at the bottom of the list are the people on the PCPs. They say, like,